Welcome back to another episode of the Open Mic Podcast. I'm super excited for you to be listening. Today I'm sitting with Maggie Allred, an intern here at Richland Source and also a fellow musician. Super excited to have you. Welcome to the show, Maggie.
Hi, I'm Maggie, as he said. I'm a junior at Mansfield Senior High School. So,
yeah, well, it's super exciting to have you here. Tell me a little bit more about you as a person. What do you like to do at like extracurricular activity-wise, maybe?
Well, obviously, performing arts. We have a career tech at senior high, 3 periods every day of just pure performing arts, and I am in love with it.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
What kind of performing arts is it?
Well, it's kind of like the periods are like split up daily, and so like sometimes we'll have improv or scene study. We'll do our own like performances, like if we have something cool to share with the class. We learn a lot about theater and like theater terms, etc. So it's some days it'll be like we're moving constantly all the time, and then other days it's like book work kind of stuff, so we can actually like learn what exactly we're doing when we're like performing and stuff.
That's super cool to me because I didn't get to do anything like that when I was in high school. I took a drama class, I think Drama 1 and Drama 2 in high school, but that was years ago. We never had anything sort of dedicated to the multiple layers of being a performing artist. I think that's really, really cool. So you mentioned that you do theater. Do you do anything with like instruments or anything like that?
I play guitar, ukulele. I'm kind of trying to learn piano, but that's not going very well so far.
There's still time. Do you do that in class, or is that just on your own time?
That's on my own time.
I gotcha. Okay. I want to talk about the performing arts thing just a little bit more because I think it's super duper cool. What are some of the outcomes of it? Do you guys like put on a show each quarter or semester or trimester, whatever you guys are on?
Kind of. Last year was the first year it was there. Mr. Ichis, my wonderful teacher, started
Yes,
it.
I've met him a couple times for our choir sing-along stuff that we do for the holidays.
Yeah, he's fun. But so I started last year, actually. It was kind of like an introduction to the class. It was only 1 period because I was a sophomore. I couldn't take the full class. And we did a little musical. Like, we went on what we call elementary tours. And so we go and perform like a little kiddie kind of musical for all the little kids. And it's really good for our class, though, because a lot of the kids actually don't have that much experience in theater and the arts, and they're just kind of curious what they're doing. So it's, for a lot of people, it's brand new. And we're doing that this year, the same concept. We're doing like a medieval feast thing. We're combining with other career techs. And so it's like a lot is going on all the time. If I had like a calendar, it'd be like there's something all the time.
Well, it's super cool that you get to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think my next sort of point / question that I sort of wanted to say is I think it's really important in a school district like Mansfield where there's oftentimes sort of this negative opinion or maybe even a negative or not negative but a lack of opportunity for these students at Mansfield Senior to be able to get involved with something at a young age, because I'm assuming that you can do it as a freshman as well, right? Or is it sort of an upperclassman thing?
It's an upperclassman thing. Okay. Most career techs are.
Oh, okay. So you have to sort of be into it before you get started, I guess.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Well, never mind. But at any rate, I think it's super cool that Mansfield Senior is able to dedicate 3 hours of a school day to that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I was hoping so bad to get to this class because I didn't know if I could fit it in my schedule, and I was so nervous. And honestly, like, I am having one of the best school years ever. And, like, that class, I don't know, something about it, it's like I start my day with something I truly, truly enjoy, and then I do my core classes and stuff, and it works out to where I'm balanced really, really well.
Well, that's an interesting point you just brought up because when I was in high school, I did a research paper on I don't remember the exact topic, but that doesn't matter because I remember what the basis of it was. It was a lot of schools, a lot of public schools. In Missouri at least, there was a lot of sort of cutting of school stuff, and unfortunately it came out of the fine arts departments, so there wasn't really a lot of art classes or potentially band or choir, and luckily at my school that wasn't a thing that was effective. I was one of those band geeks. I'm sorry, I was a choir dork. But
yeah, same.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's how you end up on a podcast. And it was interesting to me because it seems like a lot of money, instead of getting cut from a lot of things that comes from fine arts, and there's more money being put into things like sports. And I'm not trying to sound like sports aren't important. I think that there's a lot of scientific data that proves that sports are really important for excelling in the classroom if you're doing the right sort of stuff. But I think it's maybe overlooked the amount of brain development that can happen by learning to play a song on the trumpet or learning how to sight read in choir, and do a performing art theater type of thing as well. I think that that's super important, and also it's important for school districts like Mansfield Senior to sort of understand that not everyone is going to want to go and play baseball.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point, because like there's so many things that I've learned in that class that incorporate into my daily life and have improved how I approach things. And it's not just about like learning like how to write music and how to read sheet music. It's about like communication and how to it's really important, I think, going into whatever workforce a person's going in, because I've learned so many communication skills. Super socially awkward most of the time, but I'm a little bit more open now because it's just something about it I can't really describe, but really opened me up.
Well, speaking of communication skills, you've also become, I believe it's the editor-in-chief, right?
Yeah.
Of the Tiger Times. And it's funny because we'll get back to the Tiger Times in a second, but as we mentioned, you're an intern here at Richland Source.
Yes.
And you are also the daughter of Jay Allred, our publisher.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, excuse me, our president. And so, it's just cool how that sort of transpired into you wanting to do a newspaper for Mansfield Senior, and I think that's super cool. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I think a lot of the influence on a lot of things is from my father. Sometimes I like to separate myself a little bit from that because I don't want to be perceived as I'm just doing this because my dad does it. It's a true passion, writing, and writing is like one of my biggest passions, and I don't want that to be taken as like, oh, she's just doing that because of her dad, because that's not true. But yes, he's definitely influenced me, and I don't think I would have ever brought my writing into a news
medium.
Yeah, a news medium without him and the history and my grandfather and stuff. But so that's definitely helped. I think that's something new for me that I'm a little bit nervous about. But yeah.
Yeah, I completely forgot about your grandfather, who was the publisher of the News Journal for quite some time as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, you've got a sort of...
It's in my blood.
Yeah, for sure. You've got ink in your veins.
Yes, definitely.
So what kind of stuff is the Tiger Times focused on reporting about?
At the moment, our first issue is coming out mid-October. At the moment, I'm trying to kind of like weasel it in. I'm not like starting huge. It's going to be printed for the start, and then in about a month and a half, I think we're going to launch a website. But basically, it's focused on student life at the moment. If there's any huge news about the school, that's going to be included in there. I've noticed a lot of complaints from students and parents on Facebook and stuff about like not being able to have a voice, and especially with that whole Madison protest and stuff, that's kind of come to light. And so I kind of want students to have more of a voice. So there's going to be a lot of like, there's going to be a student question every single month. Like, what do you think Mansfield Senior High School could improve? What's your favorite thing? Blah, blah, blah. And I think...
How are you going to go about asking are you just like going to go to the cafeteria at lunchtime and just select random tables? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
I've tried Facebook and I got some opinions, but I noticed some students don't really make sense. It's a little bit hard to understand what they're trying to say when they comment.
I had that issue when I was a reporter at the BG News in high school, in college. Sometimes you would ask people, and they would sort of surprise you with really intellectual, deep thoughts, and then other times, like, they may or may not have been sober when you ask them that question.
Yeah, like
not saying that any of your high school students are on drugs, but they were at times. Moments where I was wondering at Bowling Green.
Yeah, and it's like, or they'll just say, we shouldn't have dress code. Like, explain to me why.
Right.
Because it doesn't really make an impact if you're not giving your reasoning for something. I think that's important, and that needs to be pressed in their brains a little bit.
Sure. Well, so you brought up the Madison protest that happened, I think, 2 weeks now ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was such a fast week for me because there was so much breaking news.
I can imagine.
We killed it, though. I was really proud of the team's effort. What was so interesting about that to you? Were there things that like you felt were similar at your school? I'm just curious.
Not necessarily at the moment,
Okay.
but I guess I was more intrigued. I wasn't necessarily intrigued by the whole issue itself. I was intrigued by the fact that all those students came together and did something that really impacted the school district.
Right.
Just a student body did that. And I think that's, like, amazing. I don't really know where I stand on the issue, but I just think it's amazing how they all got together.
Yeah. So I'm the beat reporter for education at Richland Source, so I sort of understand everything that happened there because I was reporting on it for like 4 unbearable months until it all got really exciting, and then the roller coaster ended, and it was sort of sad. But anyway, basically, it was really cool for me to sort of get to be out there. I did a couple of Facebook Lives. If you go to Richland Source's website and look at the photo, you can, or the article, you can sort of.
We saw those in class. We watched.
Oh no, that's embarrassing. But no, it was interesting because I sort of ran out of things to say because I felt like I would be repeating myself. So I went to the stream of comments that were coming in, and I was really excited because we got like 400 comments on the Facebook videos by the end of the day. And while I was live, I was answering some of those questions. But I also saw a lot of people who were like talking about like those kids should be in class. It's not up to them. It's their parents. And I can't say this sort of stuff because I'm reporting on it. I have to remain unbiased, and I don't want to make anyone from the school board or the school district upset with the way that I'm covering it. So I had to sort of keep my bearings straight, if you will.
I imagine that's hard.
It actually can be really hard, especially when there are things happening that you are so certain are incorrect, and that's why I'm so lucky to have an editor. I know that there are some newsrooms where like editors are sort of not quite as involved as my editor Larry, who I just think the world of. I think he's a great guy, and
Go Larry.
he doesn't even listen to these podcasts, so I can say that without any embarrassment. But going back to it, it was interesting because these people are like, these kids should go back to class and like blah 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 blah. Like this is a parent issue, not a student issue. And I was thinking to myself, like, I could not disagree more. Like I don't know any of these children, but I was very proud of them for having the like whatever you want to call it, the gutspa, maybe is that a word from the past, to be like, listen, like, we're not happy with the way that we're being taught. We're not happy with the way that our teachers are being treated, and our parents are in full support of us doing this. So we're going to go ahead and sort of break the system of like, take it or you like lose your homecoming. Yeah. And I don't know how long they're out there. They originally were supposed to be out there all day. I left around, I want to say 1 o'clock after I fulfilled my reporting side of it, I felt. And I think that some of them may have been like, well, let's go back to class now. Yeah. But I was very, very proud of them for taking a stand because honestly, if there weren't protests, we wouldn't have had the civil rights movement. We wouldn't. And I'm not trying to say that like this was the like walking across the bridge moment.
It's just the message, the way that
totally
impacts people is huge.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. We've gotten a little off topic.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
This is the Open Mic Podcast where we talk with musicians. Talk to me a little bit about your music. I see you brought your guitar along, so you're going to play for us in a second. Tell us a little bit about this song. I understand that it's not titled.
Oh, well, I've thrown around a lot of titles. My titles are kind of like, I try to never put a lyric from the song or a word from the song in the title, just to confuse people because it's fun and it's funny. But I considered calling this one "Tell the Doctor to Pull the Plug" because of the little puns, dark puns I put in it. But it's basically. Do you want me to talk about what it's about? Or
yeah, I would love that.
It's pretty deep it's one of my deeper songs. It's kind of about an abusive relationship I was in, emotionally, and I think of like a way I express my past and stuff is through writing, and so this one's one of the most important ones to me.
Okay.
So,
well, great.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. Living off the life support that's called hope, a feeling that keeps me going, like the oxygen flowing unnaturally. Putting me in webs that I cannot untangle. You're putting me in situations I cannot handle, and I don't know where to go from here. Yeah, you're putting me in webs that I cannot untangle. You're putting me in situations I cannot handle, and I don't know where to go from here, from here, from here, from here, from here.
Wow, Maggie, that was really great. Thank you so much for playing that. That was really pretty. I loved the lyrics. I thought it was really, really great. So
Thank you.
Can you give me a little bit more information about the song?
Yeah. So basically, this took me a while to write. Actually, I thought I got like a spark of inspiration, and it didn't take me many places at first. I wrote a couple of lyrics, and then I went and looked back at it about a couple of months later, and or a month later or something, and things started flooding back. And it's one of my more vocally strong songs, I guess. I get super nervous when I'm singing, so a lot of the times I'm not like belting. This is kind of a little bit out of my comfort zone, actually, especially with the content and the way I wrote it. It's a real life experience, and I tried to put it in like little messages and stuff, and that's what I do with a lot of my writing. I'm not very blunt with it sometimes, well, on occasion, but I can't talk.
It's okay.
This one's just kind of hard for me because it's like it had so much emotion put into it, and I didn't want to be so open, so I kind of like put it in like metaphors and whatever, and I do that a lot in my writing. But yeah.
Cool. Well, your guitar is gorgeous too. Not to totally break away from everything, but I know that your grandfather not only was a great publisher for a local news outlet of which we don't speak, but just kidding. But he also makes guitars, and I know you said that he didn't make that guitar for you, but he fixed it in some way.
I don't know the full story. I can't remember it, but long story short, the neck was like completely off of the guitar, like snapped off, like 2 pieces. And so they were gonna like throw it in the trash. I think I can't remember where, but so he's like, well, I can fix it, and he did, and it's like basically perfect condition now. The
That's
neck
awesome.
is like completely recovered. It's great.
Yeah, your dad has one of the guitars that Jess Allred made. And it's hanging up, and your dad let me play it one time, and it's a beautiful sounding guitar. It's really cool. I think it's a really cool, I don't know what we would call it, skill or
Well, I've always known my grandfather as like an artist, and when he started making these, I was kind of young. He started with like cigar box guitars, and which are really cool. I have trouble playing them because I can't I don't know what to do.
Is it more or less? So it's not quite like a guitar in fret position. Then I've never played one.
Like some have like 3 strings, some have like 5. It's
so
all different.
It's comparable to like the ukulele differences. Okay.
And eventually he started making like full acoustics, kind of out of nowhere, to me at least. And they were like, there's so many like little intricate details. Like he carves out portraits on the wood sometimes.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool.
They're so intricate, but it's not just the fact that they're a piece of art. They're playable, and they sound great too, and I think that's really cool. And I don't know exactly what you call it, but it's kind of like a banjo shaped ukulele with guitar strings, and it sounds really cool. And I'm actually going to play that on Friday, which I'm super excited about because I haven't played it in public.
Excellent segue. Let's talk about Friday.
Yeah.
You've got a First Friday gig.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. This is like basically one of my like dream gigs. I remember a couple years ago, or whenever Kathy started it at Element of Art, I saw someone playing there, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And my dad goes to me, he's like, that could be you someday. And now it is. And I think about that a lot.
Yeah, it's a fun gig. I played there too once, and it's very cool crowd, very open crowd. And what I mean by that is they're not going to boo and hiss if you're not up to snuff. It's very I mean, passerbys will see you playing in the window, and they'll walk in and listen for a few songs, and then drop some cash in the little donation bucket. So it's a really, really fun way to sort of start the month, because that's what First Fridays are. But I appreciate Kathy for doing that at Element of Art. Yeah.
When did you do yours?
Oh man, I was a substitute, I think, because there was a while where I didn't have anything new. My album did not. I mean, because I'm a nobody, right? So I didn't get on the radio. I was a little bummed that I had 90 albums out of 100 left in my trunk. Basically, I just need I wanted to take a mental break from doing music stuff, and
it's exhausting.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Well, it wasn't really. Yeah, it just wasn't really fun. I think your dad was actually maybe the top or first 3 people to buy my album, and then
we have it in our car.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, because I was listening to it today. It's not. It could have been recorded, not recorded as if it was the recorder's fault, but there were certain things that I noticed that were a little flat or whatever. It was my first time in a studio, which was really cool, and I'm really happy to have had that experience. But it could have come out better.
You can be so critical on ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something too.
I found a million things wrong with the song I just sang.
Yeah, I think that it's very true that we're all our biggest critic, which is probably better than having it be someone else being our biggest critic. So, yeah. One thing that I wrote down that I wanted to say to you, but I didn't want to sort of mess up our conversational flow.
Yeah.
You said you don't like to give your songs titles that are lyrical or from the lyrics, and that's funny to me because in I think it was middle school, in my English class, which I told you in the car as you were driving over here today, it was one of my favorite classes in school was English.
Me too.
We did a poetry I guess week or whatever, and one of them was haikus, and we read this one haiku that was called The Bird, and then nowhere in the story was a bird, but because of the title being The Bird, we were able to understand that it was about a bird. And I thought that was a really cool way of writing a haiku, because it gives you extra syllables. And
exactly.
So I just thought that you might enjoy that.
I think that's cool.
I thought it was super sweet.
Or the things sometimes I'll end up trashing a lyric out of the song, so I'm I'll just make that the title.
Right.
It was here once upon a time, but it disappeared, so now it's the title.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So do you want to play another song for me?
Sure.
Okay, awesome.
If you give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
This one is about my struggle with religion.
Okay.
I had a tough experience with church, etc. And so yeah, this is kind of what it's about. I don't want to bash anyone on here, so I'm not gonna do that.
What do you mean you're not gonna bash anyone?
It's kind of about
because last week we made fun of Weird Al, so I think individually.
Oh, well, this is a Weird Al. Yeah, that's different.
We're talking about the Holy Spirit, man.
Yeah,
this is important.
We're talking about organizations.
I see. Okay. Okay.
So basically, I thought sometimes going to a Catholic school does not influence your religion very well. Kind of does the opposite. So
okay.
That's kind of what this is about. So yeah.
Okay. Well, great.
It's called Holy Jeans.
Okay.
I don't know. They wouldn't let us wear holy jeans, and holy was funny to me because holy, whatever.
Cool. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I believe in. I don't know if there is a God. I don't know why I'm here. You wanna take me to your church. I don't know if I'll feel anything. You wanna take me to your favorite spot. I don't know if I'll see him, but I am trying to find him again. I'm trying to pray and feel something magic. Oh, believe me, I'm going crazy. All for you. All for you. I can't step in there. The sanctuary gives me chills. I'm trying to light a candle, but my hand fumbles. There's burn marks still. How can I trust them again? They took my breathing from me. He was my oxygen. He was my oxygen. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. This is my prayer. This is my prayer. This is my prayer. This is my prayer.
The lyric, I didn't get to quite hear the whole phrase, but the trying to pray and feel something magic is so it's so relatable to me.
Yeah.
Because I grew up religious. I went to 2 different churches because my parents got divorced when I was younger, and they both had different, I don't know, types of Christianity that I went to. So one week I was a Methodist, the next week I was a Presbyterian. And so I grew up with a very sort of Jesus-heavy lifestyle because both parents were adamant that we would go to Sunday school and then go to church. And then as I got into middle school, I became a part of the Webster Hills United Methodist Church's youth group, which was really great at the time because I had a whole bunch of friends there. We played kickball, and I was athletic, and I loved hitting home runs, and it was really great. And so God was a very sort of big part of my life. And then I went to college, and I guess I sort of got sidetracked. But my best friend / roommate in college and I would attempt to go to a Methodist church in Bowling Green. And then it got to the point where I was just sort of like, am I crazy? Like, I don't feel a thing. And so I totally understand what you're talking about there.
Because a lot of the time, like, it wasn't, it's not like my parents were pressuring me. Like, it it was more the people around me, like friends and stuff. Like, they're like, oh, you're going through this, you got to pray to God. He'll take care of it.
Right.
And
it's like, well, how many times am I praying loud enough in my head? Like, it's not reaching him. Yeah, I've totally had that same feeling.
And that's really hard for me to grasp. I grew up in a Catholic church, but I never felt like I was Catholic. But, like, I would pray, and I'd be fine. And then middle school, like 8th grade, came along, and I was like, something just doesn't feel the same. And I got confused, and a lot of stuff happened, and I was like, oh my God, there's nothing, like, I've prayed, and it feels like nothing's working and stuff. And so a lot of that plays into it. And I think that sometimes that pressure to have a religion and believe a certain thing really kind of defeats, it's like contradicting itself. It's doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, I completely and totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes religious leaders or ministers, or even, whatever you want to call them, the people who are sort of speaking for, like, not that they're spokesmen, I guess their title, but people who speak for the church. So it just could be a pretty, like, important member of the church or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
can really do more damage than good sometimes if they're like speaking to you from a point of expertise, when, like, no one knows what an individual is going through. And I think that reminds me of a popular saying that's like, most people aren't, like, against you, they're just for themselves. And I think that, unfortunately, that sort of seems to be not understood in the church, because I just think there are so many different lives being affected by a single sermon. And I'm not anti-religious. Whenever I go down to Cincinnati, my mom goes to this really cool Episcopal church, and I always try and go in with what I call a journalistic perspective, where I'm not judging, I'm just sort of doing my best to absorb the information. And I always really enjoy what they're talking about. And it's really cool because it's a congregation unlike any other church that I've ever been to, and I've been to 2, as I guess I've been to 3, as I've talked about during this conversation. And so not to, like, pull the, like, Democrat or Republican strings, but I think the majority of the churches that I attended were more conservative minds. They weren't quite as open, and the church that my mom and stepfather attend is so beautifully open, and they're so progressive and optimistic that it really sort of ropes you in, and I just feel so much more comfortable there, because it's the church that I went to in Bowling Green, and I won't say what it's called because I don't remember what it was called, but I loved it my freshman and sophomore years. But then the congregation didn't like the minister, and I guess he said one or two too many things that the congregation didn't like, and he ended up having to leave and going to Toledo, and that was a huge bummer because my roommate and I loved him, and I don't know that anyone else, except for the 2 or 3 friends that we were in the choir with, because I was a dork again. I was in the church choir.
Me too.
It was a great
got
way
the
to
robes
pay.
and
It was
everything.
a great way to pay for college sometimes,
Man.
or at least beer on the weekends. I think that we were the only ones who felt a connection to him, and that was disturbing because I felt such a connection to what he was saying, and obviously no one else in the church was.
It's like you're the odd one out.
Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
It's not a comfortable position to be in, to realize that, like, someone who's saying something to you is just passing over the heads of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I've sort of discovered for myself that it's more important to just be a good moral person and not necessarily have to get on your knees and pray every night.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, is like sometimes I know I've been to another church too, to kind of with my friend, because she was like, oh, you got to believe in God. I was like, I'll try. I'm still trying. I mean, there's on and off. Anyway, there's a difference when it's like a very strict, you follow the rules church, and as long as you're a good person, you can come in.
Right.
I felt so much more comfortable at the one she took me to because it wasn't like I had to follow like very strict rules and stuff, and that does make a difference. I think it makes people more comfortable when they're allowed to be a little bit more themselves.
Right. Well, that's all of my questions. Do you have anything else that you were hoping to talk about today?
Follow me on Instagram.
All right. What's the Insta?
Maggie.Allred.
Okay, great. Is that where you're going to be telling people about music coming up for your shows and stuff?
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, great. Maggie.Allred. Just messed up your last name. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Maggie. Period.
Yeah.
Allred
Yes.
on Instagram. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about your music.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.